Lady Kimbuck was crocheting, Lord Evenwood dozing, Lady Eva reading, and Roland thinking. A peaceful scene. A soft, rippling murmur, scarcely to be reckoned a snore, had just proceeded from Lord Evenwood's parted lips, when the door opened and Teal announced Miss Chilvers. Roland stiffened in his chair. Now that the ghastly moment had come, he felt too petrified with fear even to act the little part in which he had been diligently rehearsed by the obliging Mr. Teal. He simply sat and did nothing. It was speedily made clear to him that Miss Chilvers would do all the actual doing that was necessary. The butler had drawn no false picture of her personal appearance. Dyed yellow hair, done all frizzy, was but one fact of her many-sided impossibilities. In the serene surroundings of the long drawing-room she looked more unspeakably not much good than Roland had ever imagined her. With such a leading lady, his drama could not fail of success. He should have been pleased. He was merely appalled. The thing might have a happy ending, but while it lasted it was going to be terrible. She had a flatteringly attentive reception. Nobody failed to notice her. Lord Evenwood woke with a start and stared at her as if she had been some ghost from his trouble of '85. Lady Eva's face expressed sheer amazement. Lady Kimbuck, laying down her crochet work, took one look at the apparition and instantly decided that one of her numerous erring relatives had been at it again. Of all the persons in the room, she was possibly the only one completely cheerful. She was used to these situations and enjoyed them. Her mind, roaming into the past, recalled the night when her cousin, Warminster, had been pinked by a stiletto in his own drawing-room by a lady from South America. Happy days! Happy days! Lord Evenwood had by this time come to the conclusion that the festive Blowick must be responsible for this visitation. He rose with dignity. "To what are we?" he began. Miss Chilvers, resolute young woman, had no intention of standing there while other people talked. She shook her gleaming head and burst into speech. "Oh, yes, I know I've no right to be coming walking in here among a lot of perfect strangers at their teas, but what I say is, right's right and wrong's wrong all the world over, and I may be poor, but I have my feelings. No, thank you, I won't sit down. I've not come for the week end. I've come to say a few words, and when I've said them I'll go, and not before. A lady friend of mine happened to be reading her daily sketch the other day, and she said, 'Hello, hello,' and she passed it on to me with her thumb on a picture which had under it that it was Lady Eva Blyton who was engaged to be married to Mr. Roland Bleke. And when I read that, I said, 'Hello, hello,' too. I give you my word. And not being able to travel at once, owing to being prostrated with the shock, I came along to day just to have a look at Mr. Roland Bloomin' Bleke and ask him if he's forgotten that he happens to be engaged to me. That's all. I know it's the sort of thing that might slip any gentleman's mind, but I thought it might be worth mentioning. So now," Roland, perspiring in the shadows at the far end of the room, felt that Miss Chilvers was overdoing it. There was no earthly need for all this sort of thing. Just a simple announcement of the engagement would have been quite sufficient. It was too obvious to him that his ally was thoroughly enjoying herself. She had the centre of the stage, and did not intend lightly to relinquish it. "My good girl," said Lady Kimbuck, "talk less and prove more. When did Mr. Bleke promise to marry you?" "Oh, that's all right. I'm not expecting you to believe my word. I've got all the proofs you'll want. Here's his letters." Lady Kimbuck's eyes gleamed. She took the package eagerly. She never lost an opportunity of reading compromising letters. She enjoyed them as literature, and there was never any knowing when they might come in useful. "Roland," said Lady Eva quietly, "haven't you anything to contribute to this conversation?" Miss Chilvers clutched at her bodice. Cinema palaces were a passion with her, and she was up in the correct business. "Is he here in this room?" Roland slunk from the shadows. "Mr. Bleke," said Lord Evenwood sternly, "who is this woman?" Roland uttered a kind of strangled cough. "Are these letters in your handwriting?" asked Lady Kimbuck, almost cordially. She had seldom read better compromising letters in her life, and she was agreeably surprised that one whom she had always imagined a colourless stick should have been capable of them. Roland nodded. "Well, it's lucky you're rich," said Lady Kimbuck philosophically. "What are you asking for these?" she inquired of Miss Chilvers. "Exactly," said Lord Evenwood, relieved. "Precisely. Your sterling common sense is admirable, Sophia. You place the whole matter at once on a businesslike footing." "Do you imagine for a moment " began Miss Chilvers slowly. "Yes," said Lady Kimbuck. "How much?" Miss Chilvers sobbed. "If I have lost him for ever!" Lady Eva rose. "But you haven't," she said pleasantly. "I wouldn't dream of standing in your way." She drew a ring from her finger and placed it on the table, and walked to the door. "I am not engaged to Mr. Bleke," she said as she reached it. Roland never knew quite how he had got away from the Towers. He had confused memories in which the principles of the drawing room scene figured in various ways, all unpleasant. It was a portion of his life on which he did not care to dwell. Safely back in his flat, however, he gradually recovered his normal spirits. Indeed, now that the tumult and the shouting had, so to speak, died, he was free to take a broad view of his position. He felt distinctly happier than usual. That Lady Kimbuck had passed for ever from his life was enough to make for gaiety. He was humming blithely one morning as he opened his letters. Outside the sky was blue and the sun was shining. It was good to be alive. He opened the first letter. The sky was still blue, the sun still shining. "Dear Sir," it ran, "we have been instructed by our client, Miss Maud Chilvers of the Goat and Compasses, Aldershot, to institute proceedings against you for breach of promise of marriage. In the event of your being desirous to avoid the expense and publicity of litigation, we are instructed to say that Miss Chilvers would be prepared to accept the sum of £10,000 in settlement of her claim against you. We would further add that in support of her case our client has in her possession a number of letters written by yourself to her, all of which bear strong prima facie evidence of the alleged promise to marry, and she will be able in addition to call as witnesses in support of her case the Earl of Evenwood, Lady Kimbuck, and Lady Eva Blyton, in whose presence at a recent date you acknowledged that you had promised to marry our client. Trusting that we hear from you in the course of post, we are, dear Sir, yours faithfully, Harrison, Harrison, and Harrison." End of Chapter 6. Recording by Tim Bulkley of BigBible.org. End of A Man of Means by P. G. Wodehouse and C. H. Boville.